Again, folks, this is Brother Peter with tidbits from the Word. I was thinking this morning as I was praying, talking to the Lord today about some things. And I'm reading in this book called Habakkuk in the Bible. And in this book, there's a little man named Habakkuk. And I said to myself that this man had a burden, and God met with him. And in chapter 2, one of his statements is, he said, I will stand upon my watch. And he said, I'm going to set me upon the tower, and I'll watch and see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. Now here's a man that wanted to talk to God face to face. He wanted a conversation with the Lord. Well, God obliged him. And God told him, he said, Habakkuk, get you a pen, a pad, get you some parchment and a quill or whatever it was they used in that day. And you yourself sit down, and I'm going to tell you some words, and I want you to write them down. And you write them down, and I'm going to use them in my Bible to talk to other men. Now, in thinking, man, it would be nice to talk to God face to face. God said, I will talk to you face to face. I wrote you a book. I had Habakkuk write a little chapter or two in here and leave it just for you so you could read it. Habakkuk has only 3 chapters in it. This man, he came out of the woodwork. God pulled him out in the woods somewhere, and he said, I'm going to have you do some writing for me, sir. You're an upright man. You're a man that follows me. You're a man I can trust. You're a man I can use. And I want you to write some things that I'm going to reveal to you. I'm going to show you these things. And God showed him those things. There are only 56 little verses that God showed him in here. And he had to write them down so that you and I could study them, read them, and see where we stand. See if we are people of God, or see if we are like those that were against God. There's only 1,476 words in this writing. Perhaps he could have wrote it in a day. He could have wrote it in a day. But I'm thinking God may have gave him a little longer than that. But anyway, in this writing, there are 12 questions. Some of them from God, some of them to God. And there is only one command in there, and that's the command to live right. The command to follow God, that's the command. There are no promises, but there are 20 predictions that if you do not live right, this is what's going to happen. If you do not straighten up and follow God like you're supposed to, this is what is going to happen. And there are 11 verses of prophecy. And these prophecies are that if you do not, God is going to come against you if you do not straighten up. If you do not listen to the words that I'm telling you and see what God showed me. And there are 2 direct messages from God. Chapter 1 and verse 5 is a message directly from God. He said, Behold, ye among the heathen, and regard the wonder marvelously, for I will work a work in your days, which ye will not believe, though it be told you. He was going to work a work with this little man, and he's going to tell him about it. And the man saying, man, I don't know if I can believe that or not. And then 2 and 2. And the Lord answered me and said, Write this vision and make it plain upon tables, that it may run that readeth it, that he may run that readeth it. Now what God is saying, you write this down, and the man that readeth it, run away from evil. Run away from what he's doing. Run away from that which is wrong and not right. And for God, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though I tarry and wait for it, because I will surely come, I will not tarry. Right now God was tarrying, and he was waiting for the time when he would come and make this vision clear to the people. They had a choice to turn from their wicked ways, and that would be a sense running away from the wicked ways, running to God and to the righteous ways. But if they didn't do that, the Chaldeans were going to come down on them and going to destroy them in a wicked way. And God's telling them, this little book of Habakkuk, if you want to look it up, it is in just before the New Testament. It is just before the New Testament, a few books, 2 or 3 books before the New Testament. And God was giving these people one more chance. And do you know that in just a little while, God was going to close the book of the Bible, and for 400 years, there would be no writings. For 400 years, God was not going to speak to his people again. And here he is in those last days between the New Testament and the Old Testament. He's speaking through this little man. And now he speaks through you and I. Now he's speaking this morning, today. He is speaking through me to you from his word. Now, it said here that he wrote these words on a tablet. I said a while ago, a parchment or something, but God told him to write them on a tablet here of some type, or perhaps a stone, somehow. And so he put these writings down. May have took him much time. May have been prehistorically done. He may have had to take a sharp pointed rock and scratch it in the sandstone and write it. Remember, the language that God used in these days, back in Habakkuk's days, one word meant a sentence. One man's name could mean 4 or 5 words of things said. And so one word could be a sentence. So, as Habakkuk wrote, and he wrote this, "Behold, the soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith." What an astounding statement this was back in the day when it was said that God always had prepared man to have an upright soul. When he prepared Adam, he prepared him with a soul that would live forever. And that soul was to live in that very body that he gave Adam forever. But sin came on the scene, and Adam's body had to die because of sin. And by the way, had Adam not said, "God, forgive me for the sin that I have done when I took of that tree and did opposite of what you told me," had he not said, "God, forgive me of that," he would have died and gone to hell, and his soul would be in hell forever. Wicked. What a wicked thought, that the first man that God created, his soul would have been in hell forever. Now, the soul is going to live forever. Going to live forever. Some place is going to live forever, either in heaven or in hell. And the soul that sinneth dieth, the Lord said. Well, how does that work? What the death to God is of a man's soul is total separation from God. The soul that stands in front of God is a living soul. And the soul that is not in front of God, that has died on this earth, stands in front of the devil. And will live forever in torments, and in flame, and in fire, and in hell, and in all of that which is evil. which is totally opposite from righteousness. All the righteousness is going to be with God forever. And all the wickedness and evil and unrighteousness is going to be with the devil forever. Look at this. He said, the Lord said that he was a just man. He was a just being. Verse 5. Ye also, because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth all him at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth upon him all people. Now the devil himself is going to get into a man, any man, and cause him to want to enlarge his area, whether it's a little bitty guy in a little bitty town, or a little bitty guy in just a little bitty house. He wants to enlarge everything he's got evilly so that he can be in control of it as an evil person. The devil wants to control everything wickedly and cause contention, grief, and all kinds of stuff. He says here in verse 4, he is not an upright man. This man that is not following God is not an upright man. I had the statement that I put here on this one. Do you know by your actions that you are upright? Do your actions give you away that you're not upright? I like one of these sayings right here. He cannot be satisfied. I was talking with a man yesterday about when I first got saved. When I got saved, what I smoked. And I used to think cigarettes satisfied me. And I was fooled by the fact they did not satisfy me. If I had only stepped back and taken a look at what happened, that I would smoke one. And I was, man, I needed that. But you know what? In about a few minutes, I'd be lighting and smoking another one. I said, man, I needed that. There was no satisfaction in the first one. And there was no satisfaction in the second one. A few minutes of temporary stay, but no real satisfaction. Cigarettes will never satisfy you. You can smoke them one behind the other until they will go around the earth end to end. And I probably smoked that many in the 15 years I smoked. I probably smoked that many cigarettes. I ended up smoking 2.5, 3 packs a day. And my brother smoked himself to the grave. Thinking he was going to get satisfied, but you never get satisfied. Then never, not ever will a cigarette satisfy the soul of man. Yes, it'll give you a little bitty few minute of something for just a few minutes that your body is craving that nicotine that you've started it doing. You can start a habit that's very hard to break. And smoking was a very hard habit to break. Finally, God showed me it's not an upright action. It's an action of a self-centered person who is trying to please only their self. So be careful. Don't let tobacco get a hold of you. It will not suffice. And it will cause you to spend multiple dollars. Do you know that God said 10% of everything you make belongs to Him? If you're not tithing 10% of everything you make to the church and you're using tobacco, you're burning God's money up. And I think the reproach that's on a lot of people today, the cancers that are out here, the things that are out here, the lung diseases from smoking and everything, can have a twofold purpose. One, it's not good for you to do that, put that stuff in your body. Well, your body wasn't designed for it. The other is you're doing it with stolen money. Money you stole from God because you didn't put it in the collection plate. Here was the calling attention to the pagans' worship of idol for success in fishing. Now, they were doing all kinds of things that were opposite from what God said. He named this one here as fishing. And we got to be careful. Good things can become bad things when they're abused. It's a good thing to be able to go fishing. But it's a bad thing to put fishing in the place of God. Sunday comes around and the Lord said, you need to be in my house worshiping today. And you say, well, God, I can't come today. I got a fishing trip. And you go fishing. There are other things besides fishing. There is golf. I've got to go play golf today, God. I've got to go hunting today, God. We're set up today. We have to be out there early in the morning. We can't get to morning church because the turkeys are going to be out there early in the morning. And we have to be out there early to get one of them turkeys. And many, many things. There's a race going on today. Lord, there's a race going on today. I can't come to your house and worship you today. I got to go to the race. There's a horse race. A car race. Lord, my boy's playing in Little League, and they're having a game this morning. And we've got to get ready. It's 1 o'clock this afternoon is going to be a game, but we're required to be there this morning to get ready for that game. So we've got to go and get ready. And so this is the thing. We need to be careful. Look at ourselves. Are we living upright or are we living like the heathen? Do we put God off and put everything else on? Now, the Lord said to live upright after you've asked for salvation. Lord Jesus, forgive me of my sin. Come in my heart. Save my soul. I have a little thing. My daily reading today happened to be about salvation. And it said in 19, today's the 19th, it said, to receive Jesus as your Savior, pray this prayer. Father, it is written in your word that if I confess with my mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in mine heart that you have raised him from the dead, I will be saved. Therefore, Father, I confess that Jesus is Lord and ask him to be my Lord. I make him my Lord of my life right now. I ask him to forgive me of my sins. Come into my heart and save my soul. I believe that you raised him from the dead. And I renounce my past. And I renounce that I was living for Satan. And I closed the door to Satan. And I opened the door to Jesus. I thank you for forgiving me. And that's how simple it is. 3 o'clock in the morning, 1972. Drunk as a skunk. A man that swore bad. That was me. An alcoholic. A man that drank bad. Alcoholic. A man that did everything for himself and against God and for the devil. It was me. And this is the prayer that I prayed. Forgive me of all my sin, Jesus, and make me a new creation. Instantly, I became a new person. I could have breathed on you and you wouldn't have smelled alcohol on me. God cleaned me up completely. That was November 5th, 3 o'clock in the morning, 1972. Do you know that I haven't swore a cuss word from that day to this? Do you know that I haven't took a drink from that day to this, and this is 2014? And God delivered me completely. Now, we were talking a few minutes ago about cigarettes. This is a good example that after you're saved, there will be some things that you have to work out and you have to put off. Did God deliver me from smoking same time He delivered me from alcohol? Yes, He did. But I made a choice. I made a choice to keep doing that. And God kept saying to me, you can't do that and follow me. You got to give yourself to me. You have got to give up the fleshly actions that are opposite from what I am. And by the way, there is too much need in the world for you to be smoking that money up. There are missionaries you can send that money to. There are Christian radio stations you can help. By the way, every single thing that you do with your money that helps forward the kingdom of God is going to be in heaven forever. And every cigarette you smoke could be taken away from that which you're putting up there. You put something up, and then you do something to take it away. The Bible said there can be a loss of rewards. I don't know what it takes to lose a reward, but you can lose a reward. I think disobedience will lose a reward. So, look what he said. He said, the man that has not asked God to save him is an unrighteous man, and he doesn't do anything but exalt man or himself and do for himself. He does not live by faith. He lives by action. He lives by what he can get up in the morning and do that day to please his body. First thing, jump out of bed. If you're an alcoholic like I was a beer and a cigarette. Get up and have a beer and a cigarette. And then I'll pump a cup of coffee into you. And then do everything that is opposite for what is good for your body. Instead of getting up and eating a wholesome breakfast and getting up. And by the way, the majority today of the drunkards and the wine drinkers and the proud and the unfaithful and the unrighteous and they roam idly from home to home. They roam idly from home to home. They don't work. They don't work. They live off everybody else. And they bum cigarettes from everybody else. And they steal and get cigarettes. And they steal and get liquor. You say, how in the world can a man be an alcoholic that does not work? Well, we have a lot of things today that make it easy for him to do that. They pretty much now have got it to where a man that's an alcoholic, disabled because he's an alcoholic, can get welfare. And he can take that money that he gets, and if he gets food stamps, and he gets $300-400 worth of food stamps, he can go down to the bootlegger, and the bootlegger will swap him all the alcohol he wants for that food stamp. And that bootlegger doesn't have to have any information when he goes and cashes them food stamps in. He can just go through the line, buy the food, lay the stamps down. Nobody asks any questions. We're out of hand in the United States of America today. We are out of hand with welfare. We have got out of hand, and it's caused people, evil people, to be able to be eviler. And in the slack time, while you and I are out working, they're over here raiding our house. While we're out working, they're over here raiding our house. I knew of a situation a few years ago where some boys that didn't have anything to do while people went to work, they found out where the key of their house was and went in and ate some of their food and had breakfast and watched TV and then shut it all down and made it like they weren't there and left. And did the same thing a few times. And that's the kind of world we're living in today. That's the things that are happening today in this world. So, are you upright though? Are you idle? Are you a roamer? Do you roam from home to home? Is your desires enlarged as hell is enlarged to do evil or to do nothing? To do nothing is evil. To do nothing is evil. If you're an older person sitting on a porch in a rocking chair doing nothing, you've earned the right. Everything you've got is paid for and it's yours and you legitimately got it and everything, then you have a right to do nothing. Personally, I don't ever want to do nothing. I was working with a young man yesterday, 39 years old, and we're toting ladders around. I'm 72. And I'm toting a 40-foot. And he said, I don't know any 40-year-olds right now that tote ladders like you do. And I'm 72. I said, well, God has blessed me because I've lived uprightly. I've lived uprightly. How you say that, Brother Peter? Not boasting or with pride or anything, but God took me out of the dregs of the gutter and showed me through His Bible, His Word, how to live without stealing, without cheating, without doing those things that I did. I did those things when I was in alcohol. Hey, when I was in alcohol, if I got inebriated, drunk, and didn't really know what I was doing, which I did know what I was doing in a sense, but I didn't care, I would, if I didn't have any money and I didn't have any alcohol, I'd knock a window out in the liquor store and grab a couple bottles and take off. When I first got saved, I went over to the liquor store and I told that man that. I said, I'm the guy that would break your window out and steal your liquor before I got saved. But now I got saved, I want to come in and tell you that I won't be in your liquor store to buy liquor anymore. And I gave him one of my tracts. The Lord helped me write a tract in 72. And I gave him one of the tracts. It says, if you ask Jesus to save you. And so this is it. We're supposed to do that. Do you live godly or do you live like the devil? Can you look at yourself and say, you know, Pete, I have asked Jesus to save me, but I got some ways about me that are still devilish. Well, you need to put those ways down. Ask God to forgive you of them, deliver you from them. And don't be enlarged in the desire for things of hell. The Bible said this man is like death that cannot be satisfied. People in hell cannot be satisfied. I have a vision of here you are in hell. You're in fire. The Bible said the worm dieth not, calling the soul a worm there. And this worm dieth not, and it squirmeth in the fire. But I can see this. Here you are. The Bible said it's total darkness. Yet you'll be able to see in that darkness those around you suffering too. But my thought of this, just think. If you were up on this pinnacle, standing there. Here you are standing there. You can't get off. And there's fire around. All the things that you desired on this earth, you still have the desire for. You still have a 100% desire for that cigarette. There's all these cigarettes floating around by you, and you can't get one of them. Here's all of the wine, women, and song floating around you that you had on this earth. You can't get none of it. And not only that, from hell you can see heaven far off. And there's a great gulf fixed between you forever and from God. Yet you have the ability to see what you could have had. You can see that neighbor that was a Christian that you cussed. You can see him in a heavenly place. You can see that poor man that you wouldn't help or do anything with, but he was a saved man. You just didn't know it. He's up there being comforted, and now you're down in hell being tormented. You can see that great gulf. You can see across it, but you can't cross it. In Luke 19:16, it tells about two men. One died and went to heaven. One died and went to hell. and they could see from each other. No, it doesn't say that. It says that the man in hell could see heaven. I don't believe the rich man, the poor man that died and went to heaven, could see the man in hell. You know why? Because we're not able to look on the evil things or the bad things. In God, there is no unrighteousness. In God and in the eternal, being with God, there will be no unrighteousness. I believe, this is my belief, that when God came to the Garden of Eden and said, "Where art thou, Adam?" He knew where Adam was, but he couldn't look at him because Adam had sinned and taken on unrighteousness. And the Bible said God cannot look on unrighteousness. And when God looked down to see his children, the children of Israel, and he looked down at Judah. This is in the time of Judah right here that he's talking to Habakkuk. He looked down at Judah and he said, I know I've got 20,000 people in that section of earth right there, and I can't see them. I can't see them. Where are they? Oh, he said, here's one. His name's Habakkuk. I see him. Why do I see him? Because he's righteous. He is following me. He is living godly. I'm going to go and talk with him. So he went and talked with Habakkuk, one out of thousands, hundreds of thousands. You say, how you know that, Brother Peter? Well, look at Noah's day. Noah's looking. God's looking around on the earth. And he can't find anybody. All of a sudden, he has this little spot. And God looks down at it and he said, that's Noah. And he said, Noah, I want to talk with you. And he talked with Noah. And because Noah was found righteous in the eyes of God, God saved 8 people on the earth in that time. Out of millions. There was millions and millions. If you please, there were billions of people on this earth. This earth was wrapped totally around by people. This was 1,650 years after God made Adam. And in 1,650 years, with no birth control, men having more than one wife, and all that was going on the earth, and babies being born left and right by the millions, there were millions of people on this earth. The whole earth was covered with people. How do you know that, Brother Peter? Well, there's all kinds of proof of that. That there weren't just dinosaurs over there in the foreign country from America, or the different country from America, or in your country and not ours. No, the dinosaurs were all over the earth. Everywhere you dig, you can find dinosaurs. Everywhere you go and start taking coal out of the earth, and you'll find all kinds of debris, evidence of things that were all over the earth, everywhere. And by the way, the coal is debris that was put there during the flood. And so we know that the flood was a fact. And we know why. And we know that God found one man on the earth as he looked around. He looked around and found one righteous man. And God was always looking for a righteous man. When God found Abraham, his name was Abram. Abram had a speck of righteousness in him. He was living in a terrible, terrible place. His father was an idolater, and everything was idolatry in his land. And God said, I'm going to take you out of here, boy, because you are wanting to follow me, and I'm going to make great nations out of you. And he did. It's kind of in a sense like God said he wouldn't destroy the earth by flood anymore. But when he took Abraham out, he left that place. And just like when he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, he destroyed that place and cast it into the bottom of what we believe is the salt sea. And that's why it cannot be found. This man that follows the way of the devil is likened unto death that cannot be satisfied. He is greedy. He is covetous. He is murderous. And as the days go on, it gets worse and worse and worse. And as it gets harder and harder and harder for him to get things in this earth while he's not working, he's going to revert even to murder. Why, it's not uncommon today to turn the news on in the morning and hear somebody in, for instance, a big city like Atlanta, Georgia, got killed for a pair of sneakers, got killed for his telephone, got killed for something he had on his person or that he owned, or got killed for his car and thrown on the side of the road. It's not uncommon today to hear a man and woman got killed, pulled out of their car and killed and thrown on the side of the road, and somebody took their car and all their luggage and everything. This is what greedy lucre, the covetous person, becomes murderous and unmerciful. This is what he becomes. After a period of time, his conscience is seared, and he becomes murderous, violent, and lustful. He might not be somebody that will go around and just plain kill you, but he'll leave you for dead. He'll beat you, he'll hit you in the head and take what you have. He will come and rob your house. Just break in, just walk, come slamming through the door. A knock on the door, when you open it, stick a gun in your face or a knife and say, everything that I can tote from here, I want to tote. The first I want is your money. And so this is what we're coming to today again. Actually, we've never left it. It's just been in some countries worse than others. But, so, and God says, woe unto them that get wealth by oppression. Wow. This is the white-collar crook. The white-collar crook. I used to be at an insurance company, and this insurance company charged $25 a year to be part of their company. If you didn't pay that dues, $25 a year, that you got nothing for, nothing. You didn't get anything for it. They tried to tell me 1,000 times, oh, you got this opportunity and that opportunity, you can do this, you can do that. No, unless you did your part, all that you could do to get it, you didn't get anything. They didn't give you anything. I was with that company for a long time. They used to gripe me. For 13 years, I paid them $25 a year, and every time I went and paid it, I told them they were white-collar crooks. As far as I'm concerned, they were and still are. They're still out there. They still charge that $25 fee. Like you're somebody because you belong to our insurance. Right? But you had to pay the insurance and pay the $25. That $25 kept their buildings going. They had millions. Even that man told me they had millions of customers. Millions of customers paying $25. 1 million is 25 million. 1 million customers at $25 is 25 million a year. And if they got 100 million customers, they're getting $100 billion a year just from white-collar crookery. And it's out there today. It's everywhere today, everywhere. And we get our light bill, and there's a charge on there, unknown charge. You get your telephone bill from Bell Telephone. And every single solitary person of you that's on Bell Telephone, if you look at your bill, you're going to find a charge on there, an unknown charge. You say, there is one here. It's 3 cents. Well, 3 cents from a million people is 3 million cents. And 3 million cents or 10 million cents is $1 million. So, figure that out. And that's stealing 3 cents at a time. I had somebody hit my account not long ago for just a little small amount of money. They've done it a couple times. And so small amounts will come out to be big amounts. But let's get back in the book. It said they get wealth by unjust wealth they get. Wealth of fraud and oppression. Being oppressed and being frauded. You and I today, the small working man today, is being oppressed and being frauded Not just by everybody else, but by our own government too. They haven't seemed to be able to figure out how to not. If you go out and you start a little restaurant, they want the big portion of it. There's no way under the sun that you can't hardly make it work today. It said, woe to the covetous, woe to them that build with murder and sin. Woe unto those who take advantage of their neighbors. Don't take advantage of your neighbor. If you borrow a cup of sugar, which I used to have a neighbor I loaned many cups of sugar to, but if you borrow a cup of sugar, return it. When you get enough to get a bag of sugar, take a bag of sugar back over there. You know there's such a thing as buying a 1 pound bag of sugar. When you get paid, if you borrowed a cup of sugar from a man, get you a 1 pound bag and take that 1 pound bag back over to him. If you borrowed a $5 bill from your neighbor, pay him back. Don't come over the next month and borrow 5 more, and the next month and 5 more, and the next month and 5 more, and the next month and 5 more, and never pay him back. I've had neighbors like that. And look, do that. Woe to the idolater. What is the idolater? That is somebody who worships himself rather than God, who everything becomes pleasurable to him. Everything becomes for him. If it's not for him, he don't want it. If it doesn't prosper him, he doesn't want it. If it doesn't prosper him, he doesn't want it. So therefore, be careful. Look at your ways and see if your ways are godly or your ways are ungodly. You can look at those and see if they're godly or ungodly. Make strong, deep pledges. If you make a pledge to God, make it strong. When I pledged, I, Peter Hutchins, wrote in the front of a Bible, this day forward will not smoke another cigarette. And then 1 year later, 12 whole months, I wrote underneath that, I accomplished today. The day I accomplished it was 12 months later. I made a pledge, but it wasn't deep enough to stop me right then. I went a whole year working on it before I got it to come to true. And so we've got to be careful when we make pledges, that we make those pledges strong, and those pledges, and the promise that you make to somebody. Don't ponder it. Don't ponder on it. If you make a promise, I will be at your house at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning and go to work or whatever. I'll be somewhere. Don't ponder. If it's a promise, keep it. If you're a promise breaker, a truce breaker, then you're not living godly. Have you asked Jesus to save you and you find in your life the things that these other people have, the things that the ungodly have? Do away with the ungodly things in your life and do the godly things in your life. For the earth shall be full with the knowledge of the glory of God as the waters cover the sea. Do you know when that started? That started when Jesus said on the cross, "It is finished." When Jesus said, "It is finished," it was finished. And it started on the cross when Jesus came. And the knowledge would be around this earth fulfilled that he was the Son of God, and he came as the glory of God, and as a sea is covered. Now, we have a Bible. This Bible, when it was finished, the last book was written down, the last jot and the last tittle, that's a period and a cross on a T, was done. God said there would not be one other thing added to this word. And this word will fill the earth This word will fill the earth with the words that are righteous, the words that you need to learn how to be righteous and how to follow me will be given to you. And I'm going to give them to you in my book. And you get my book out and you read it and you study it. And that's what we're doing today. We're reading and studying, looking at this book. And my time, I've overran my time. 30 minutes is the most I like to do. I looked at this and said maybe we'll do a 60-minute, but I don't like to do 60-minute lessons on here because it is a chore for some people to use their computer for 60 whole minutes. So we're going to close now. We're going to thank the Lord that He allowed us to be on here today, and we will see you next time. Right. Bye-bye.